Buenas tardes. En nombre de la Fundación Princesa de Asturias les doy la bienvenida a esta rueda de prensa con los galardonados con el Premio Princesa de Asturias de Investigación Científica y Técnica 2024. El doctor Daniel Drucker, profesor Jeffrey Friedman, profesor Juul Holst y la doctora Svetlana Mojsov. Vamos a dar directamente paso al turno de preguntas. Cuando se les ceda la palabra, por favor, indiquen su nombre y al medio al que representan. Recuerden también, por favor, indicar a quién desean formular su pregunta. Sin más, vamos ya a dar comienzo a esta rueda de prensa. Sí.
Hola, buenas tardes. Soy Jaime Martín de la agencia EFE y para cualquiera de los cuatro me gustaría saber que si medicases el último recurso frente a la obesidad o deberías plantearse también la medicación cuando ha fallado, antes de que falle todo lo demás, las dietas o cualquier otro recurso.
So I think all healthcare providers will provide information about lifestyle modification, healthy diet, exercise, looking at the social determinants of health before moving to medicine. But we know that, unfortunately, lifestyle modification, diet, and exercise are not successful in the majority of people in helping them lose weight. We also know that these medicines have substantial benefits in reducing the complications of type 2 diabetes and obesity beyond the benefits afforded by lifestyle. So we certainly want to use all of them, and certainly lifestyle, diet, exercise are our first recommendations, but many people unfortunately require additional interventions.
Thank you. Siguiente pregunta, por favor.
Hello, my name is Alba Vázquez. I'm from Onda Cero. I heard you talk about the opportunities of development new treatments or new medicines to treat another disease from your discovery. What other disease are you thinking about that could be treated with your discovery?
Well, we already know that it's treating obesity unless you think something else. But there is an excitement now that it may actually be helpful for treating neurodegenerative diseases. And that starts from a Parkinson's disease, and so I think that's a whole new area of investigation. And I think we'll probably, within the next few years, have an answer to that. We know that Novo Nordisk is working on Alzheimer's disease. I think that will be a very important contribution if that actually works out. And of course, we know the beneficial effects on the cardiovascular diseases and on kidney. And so we think there is a whole new frontier of treating both metabolic conditions and neurodegenerative diseases.
Siguiente pregunta.
Who's directing this? Are you?
Yes,
So,
I'm here.
Let me add.
Would you like to add something?
I'd like to add something. So let me add. There's a famous trial that was called the DIRECT trial, where people with diabetes were put on a diet, and they managed to do that quite well, even if it was, in general practice, this was done. So after a year, they were looking at it, and it turned out that those that were able to lose 15% of their body weight, in them, 85% of them had remission of diabetes. It disappeared. So this tells you how incredibly important the weight loss is for diabetes. And sure enough, in one of the most recent trials with tirzepatide, which was a continuation of the SURMOUNT-1 trial for 3 years, it turned out that diabetes incidence was decreased by 94%. So it disappeared. So that's what we're looking at now. These are really sensational findings in my view.
¿Les gustaría añadir algo más a lo que ha comentado el profesor Holst?
So we have a wide range of trials. We have metabolic liver disease in phase 3. We have peripheral artery disease in phase 3. We have investigational trials in many neuropsychiatric conditions, many dependence-related disorders, alcohol use, opioid use, cannabinoid use, et cetera. So I think we're going to see a lot of interesting new data over the next 1 to 2 years beyond the neuropsychiatric and neurodegenerative disorders. So it's a very exciting time in this space.
Siguiente pregunta, por favor. Sí.
Hola, Silvia Rúa de Radio Asturias. Yo quería preguntarles un poco si les preocupa la diferencia, la desigualdad que se puede generar a la hora de acceder a esos medicamentos por el coste entre aquellos que se lo pueden costear y aquellos que no se lo pueden costear. Hablo tanto del tema de la diabetes como de la obesidad.
Yeah, so this is absolutely a huge challenge for society. Probably 95% of the people all over the world either cannot afford the medicines or cannot have access to the medicines. So we need to have better solutions. And interestingly, there are pills under development, actually in phase 3, the last stage of clinical testing, that will be much cheaper to make, much easier to distribute. They won't require refrigeration. And so if you think of the global south and India and Africa and South America, it'll be much, much easier. So I think over the next 3 to 5 years, we'll begin to solve this problem. But today, you're 100% correct. It's a major issue in terms of access and affordability and equity.
Something else? Professor Friedman?
Well, I mean, I would just say that the objective is to improve health, and these drugs improve health, and I think it's a societal question to ask how do we deliver effective means for improving health to everyone who needs it, not just the people who have the resources to pay for it. But I think that's a general question we all need to face because it's not a purely scientific one.
Yeah, so there are actually a paper last week I would refer you to in the Journal of the American Medical Association and other papers saying that if we provided these medicines to people in the United States where the modeling was done, we would save tens of thousands of additional lives each year, even if we provided the medicines for free. And I think the World Health Organization is also studying this issue. So I think it's critically important if one has life-saving medicine and very few people can have access to it, then we're not doing a good job.
Jaime.
¿Y los problemas de desabastecimiento que se están dando ahora, para cuándo podrían estar resueltos?
So the first part of your question, sorry,
¿Puedes
Yeah,
repetir la pregunta?
so right now, Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly cannot make enough medicine to distribute the drug easily beyond the United States. So it's in a few other countries, but it's not in many other countries, or it's not available in pen form. You have to draw it up in a needle. And unfortunately, the investments to build plants for making the drug and making the pen devices are substantial, and building these new plants takes 1 to 2 years. So it won't be for another couple of years, I think, until we begin to see some relief. And hopefully in 3 years or so, we'll have additional companies also making more manufacturing capacity available. But today, it's still, it's a big problem for patients and a big black eye for the industry, because you can write a prescription, and in many countries, the person has to phone 5 pharmacies and can't find the medicine, and it's really difficult today. There is a scarcity all over the world.
I just want to add something. I think this gives us an opportunity to start developing newer ways to have, say, 7 to 37 or the TIRS peptide made in a cheaper way. And I think that's a question of the chemists to develop new methods to make them. Because, for example, making Ozempic, it's very laborious, and the yields are very low. And I think that's where we should be also, and pharmaceutical companies should be looking in developing better ways to make these drugs, which are very efficient already, to make them in a quicker way and less expensive. And also will help one Ozempic and all of them go off. We know now with the Victoza is off patent, and so this gives opportunity to other pharmaceutical companies to actually develop better chemistry.
Siguiente pregunta. F.
Sí, yo perdono mi ignorancia sobre el asunto, pero me gustaría saber también si estos nuevos medicamentos estarían indicados para tratar la obesidad infantil y si no tendrían efectos secundarios.
So in many countries, these medicines are approved, particularly semaglutide and liraglutide, are approved in children as young as 12 to 18. And we've had recent trials published in the New England Journal of Medicine showing that these medicines are effective in children as young as 6. But I think your question is a good one. We don't have tens of thousands of young children treated with these medicines and studied carefully. So one has to weigh the consequences of not treating type 2 diabetes and obesity properly in children, which can be very difficult because even young children now are developing accelerated complications. We have to weigh the consequences of inaction versus using these medicines where we probably don't have enough medicine information. These children are growing, they're going through puberty, their organs are developing, their personalities and brains are developing. So it's a very complex decision that every healthcare provider has to make in discussion with the child and the family and try and make the best decision for that individual person.
But fortunately, there are some studies in adolescents with obesity, and they are wonderful. There's a STEP Teens trial, which was one of the most moving trials I've ever seen. It works so well. And the important thing is that these children with obesity that have been resistant to any attempts of treatment so far, they're facing a very, very dull, a very, very dark future with a high degree of complications, and they are more serious than in the grown-ups. So it's really fantastic that it's possible to break that bad cycle now with these compounds. So I think it's one of the most important areas of the work.
Siguiente pregunta.
De nuevo, no sé si con estos medicamentos y las investigaciones que hay en marcha se puede soñar con un mundo libre de obesidad y de diabetes en un futuro, a medio plazo, a largo plazo, o sería imposible acabar con estas enfermedades.
Jeff, why don't you take that?
Yeah, that's
Jeff,
a good one for you.
that's your thing for you.
Again, I think the focus should be on health. The problem with obesity is that it is associated with other diseases, most prominently diabetes, but also heart disease. And as you heard a moment ago, reducing weight improves the severity of these conditions. But there's also some new data that you might have heard about last night, that if you treat obese patients with these drugs, you see a reduction in their risk of heart attacks, even if they don't have diabetes, which is the more conventional risk associated with it. So I think the focus really needs to be on health. And unfortunately, many patients want to get treatments for obesity or to lose weight, not because of the health benefits, but because of the stigma attached to the condition. And so I think one of the aspects of this science that's important is it tells us that obesity isn't necessarily a choice, there are biological causes of obesity, and that we shouldn't stigmatize it any more than we should stigmatize any other biologically determined condition. So I don't dream of a world without obesity. I dream of a world where everyone's health can be improved to the extent that's possible, and where there's not the stigma that there currently is associated with the condition.
¿Hay más preguntas?
Otra cuestión, por lo que he podido ver en algunos foros, hay gente que se queja de que después de tomar estos medicamentos y dejar de tomarlos, sufren también ese efecto rebote. ¿Eso se podría llegar a controlar en algún momento o estarían condenados a tomar de por vida esta medicación?
Some people will rebound and will probably need ongoing therapy. Other people won't. And we're just beginning to learn who needs the medicine for a longer period of time and who doesn't. And some of the newer medicines appear more likely to produce a sustained weight loss in the absence of continuing to take the medicine. So I think this is a really exciting field that's evolving very rapidly, and we'll probably be able to change our recommendations over the next year or so as we learn more.
So another very important factor here is what you do during the weight loss. So this is a period of something like 1.5 years until you've reached the maximum weight loss. And in that period, that's when you should change your lifestyle at the same time. And that's going to be very, very important. If you're able to do that, both change your diet, and that's possible because with these drugs, you're able to do it without causing too much trouble, and your physical activity level. And again, this is possible because you lose weight and it's easier for you to do this. If you're able to do this, the chances of maintaining the weight loss after the therapy are much better. So it's really important, and it's important for several aspects of it. While you lose weight, and if you lose weight in the order of magnitude of 25% as you do with tirzepatide, then you also lose a lot of lean body mass, your muscle mass, and that's bad. So you have to do something to avoid that. One thing is to eat more protein, and sometimes this requires large doses of protein every day because you eat so little. And vitamins, of course. But another thing is that the treatment to combat weight loss and lean mass loss, that is physical exertion. So you must do that. But it doesn't take a lot. You can walk. You can start walking. These people have been sitting in chairs for a long time. Now you can walk, or bicycle, as we would do in Denmark.
Tenemos tiempo para una última pregunta, si la quieren formular. ¿Algo que deseen decir los galardonados con el Premio Princesa de Asturias de Investigación Científica y Técnica para concluir esta rueda de prensa?
The only comment I would make is I think it's important for everyone in society to, as Professor Friedman mentioned, to contribute to knowledge and education and improving the health of people. And that includes dialogue with government and with healthcare organizations and with public health organizations, because I think we now have tools to really make a difference, and we need to work together to achieve a benefit for society and for human health.
Parece que después de estas palabras del Dr. Drucker ha surgido una nueva y última pregunta a la que damos paso.
I heard you talk about that to be a good scientist, you need to ask the right questions. Now my question is, which is the right question now to find the answer?
I'll give you one. I don't think there's one right question, but I think a question that we've indirectly touched upon today is how do we help people stay at a lower weight once they've lost the weight, and Professor Friedman and others are really studying this carefully. I think if we could answer that question, the key to allow people to defend a lower body weight more easily, that would be a fantastic question to answer scientifically with big implications for health.
I just want, oh, sorry, go ahead.
My laboratory had nothing to do with the discovery of GLP-1. We study a different hormone that we named leptin. It also plays an important role in regulating weight. And when you lose weight, leptin levels go down. And when leptin levels go down, that's a stimulus to eat more. And that probably drives a lot of the weight regain in the people who regain the weight after they're treated with the drug. So a specific question I'd very much like to answer is whether or not giving leptin to people after they've lost the weight prevents some of the weight regain. There's some subtle clues that that might be the case, but it's by no means proven, but I think that will get answered in the coming years.
Me parece que la doctora Mojsov quería decir algo.
No, one thing which I was impressed of what the Princesa of Asturias Foundation does is that it reaches up to the school children, and we witnessed that actually they were educated and they made stories that to learn from that age of 6 how important it is to eat healthy foods. And I think that's one way to continue, that will start from the very young age to support healthy eating. And the kids were so excited about it, and they made those beautiful posters. And the education should go back to kindergarten or first grade when they were doing it. But it was very touching to see that, and to see the teachers engaged in the whole process. And I think this is something which should be widely supported by the educational system.